Welcome to the Willpower Podcast, where we uncover the secrets of success and share the wisdom of exceptional individuals. I'm your host, William Gomez, and as a real estate professional, I bring you insights from the world of real estate and beyond. Join me as I engage in captivating conversations with incredible guests from diverse backgrounds and industries, from top real estate moguls to trailblazing entrepreneurs and influencers. We dive into the mindsets and habits of successful people. If you love what you hear, don't forget to rate and review. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and enlightened. Live life today on Willpower. But Ariel, thank you so much for coming. I'm finally glad that we got to do this. I met you about a year and a half ago now.
Yeah.
And it's funny how things work out. I met you on my first bike ride with other people. I don't know how you call that.
Yeah, the group ride. I don't remember which one it was.
It was the one that we went out to. We went out to the Peach Place. What was it?
No, the Peach Porter.
Porter.
The Porter Peach Festival.
And I was like pretty nervous because I was like I've always had kind of ridden by myself, and then you were super friendly. Which after that I realized that not everybody's as friendly.
Yeah, not everyone feels that way.
Yes, but then also I didn't realize that how like freaking good you were.
Oh, thanks.
So I recently had Elias on the podcast because he's a freaking stud. He's so good. He's a Cat 1, which means that he's pretty much like a professional level.
He's so good.
But so are you.
I am a Cat 1.
You're a Cat 1. Which it's mind blowing to
weird.
me. It's mind blowing to
me too.
because like I'm on these rides and I'm like asking people things that, like I still don't know a lot, but I mean I've learned a lot throughout the last year.
You've gotten so much better.
And thank you. And so, but I'm like, so how many people are Cat 1s? And people are like, I mean, there's really like not very many in Oklahoma. Like how many people would you say like in the men's and women's are in Oklahoma, and just in the state of Oklahoma?
There's just like literally probably less than 3 Cat 1 women, and then there's probably, we'll just say less than 10. There's probably less than 5. I don't know of all of them because there may be some that don't race, but less than 10 who are like still racing, right? There's plenty of people who are that good, but they're not still racing. So
they're like older and they just kind of retired.
Yeah.
Kind of like that Yanni guy that, golly, that guy's so good.
Yeah, he'd be like a Cat 1, right? And he probably is. He
and
does
Steve
still race,
too.
But yeah.
And for people listening, these are guys that are like, especially Steve. How old is Steve?
God, I don't know. 50,
he's like
60. I don't know. He could be 100. No one would know.
But this guy is literally so fit on the bike.
So fit. And like, you don't think he is. You're like, oh, maybe he's struggling. And then when it kicks up, you're like, oh, there he is again. But there's probably like less than, I would say there's like probably less than 30. I would say there's probably less than 30 who are like true, like solid Cat 1s who may not race.
Who may not be quote unquote Cat 1s, like on paper.
Yeah, that I would know of.
So let me ask you this, because you like Elias, you have a full-time job. Something if we might get into is you're in, doing stuff in real estate. So you do all this other stuff, and one of the things that Elias and I talked about is a lot of people's excuse for not reaching their potential is because they don't have time. But
I just don't think they want to. I don't really think it's that. I think it's that like other people, it looks good. Like they may be like, oh, that looks really cool. Like I run, I ride, I lift, I, do the real estate thing, or I'm trying, and it may look appealing. And so like they're trying to follow someone else's path, and then they try it and it just keeps jamming up. And I just don't think like that's the right path. Like whether it's just like the right exercise or the right thing, like it doesn't fit them. Like they don't need it in their life, and they keep trying to need it. They're like, I need exercise. It's like, well, you don't love it.
Yeah,
you need to find something else.
You clearly love cycling. I mean, how many miles are you cycling a week?
Between 300 and 350.
I know you try to keep tabs on Elias and try to beat him.
Oh yeah, I'm like, there's no one else doing this many, and he's like 100 greater than me. I'm like, oh gosh. He hit 450.
I'm truly convinced that all his PTO goes to just cycling.
Oh yeah, it always does. Like the only days I take off, I'm like, okay, an afternoon because that's going to be good weather. It's always based on cycling.
So when did you start cycling?
Probably 8 years ago.
8 years ago. So that was what, 2005?
15? Yeah,
Okay.
right around there.
And what made you kind of get started on that?
I was dating someone who got a bike, and I was like, well, I want to keep up. I don't want to get left behind because I was bodybuilding at the time and going to the gym.
You were a bodybuilder before, just like Elias?
Yeah, so I only competed in like a couple shows, but I just could never get lean enough. Like it always, like I have to go so low calorie, and I'm like, God, it just always eluded me. But I love the gym, right? I just love it. And so I lifted for, I don't know, 10, 12 years. I still lift, 3 times a week. But so I lifted for, 10, 12 years. And then he got a bike, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get a bike. And then I got a bike. And so I was biking and lifting.
How long did it take you to realize, like, hey, I think I might be pretty good at this?
I never really thought I was good at it. I can't really say I think I'm good at it now either. I just think it's great. I just love talking on the. I never think of
I'm just a
myself
cat
as, like,
one,
good.
but I'm not really
I've
that
gotten
good.
better, but that's just like persistence, right? The bike is just one of those things that the more you do it, you get good. Versus like running, the more you do it, you'll get better, but you'll never really get amazing. Like sometimes you will, but like there's runners and then there's people who run.
I love biking way more than running. Running is just boring. And I'm saying this as like, I'm sort of training for a marathon right now, my first marathon. And then also cycling is not as hard on your body.
No. And it's fun. You can talk. Like I like the social aspect. Like that's where you make friends. Like it's hard to make friends as an adult, right? So you can make friends, you can talk. And so it's a social aspect that I really enjoy.
You have to be a certain level of good to be able to talk.
It's just like running, though. I can't talk while I run because I'm not that good. I'm like just dying out there.
Well, not only because of like your fitness level, but also because of like all the rules that involve.
All the rules. And if you don't follow them, you're a weirdo. That's just the way it is, right? They're unspoken.
So talk to me about your journey when you started in 2015. Like how long did it take you to kind of start on the group rides, and how long did it take you to kind of say like, hey, I want to get serious and maybe start, racing and people that might have not listened to Elias's podcast, he kind of explained how it all goes. You start at Cat 5. Which just stands for Category 5, right?
Yeah,
and then you work your way up, which he explained to me that for him, it was pretty easy up until Category 3, and that's when things kind of got serious. So walk me through that journey. How did that go?
I just started doing group rides every week and every weekend and all the group rides. So they had like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And so I just go every week to those group rides, and I just kept going mainly to talk because I like talking.
Right away?
Yeah, because the person I was dating at the time, like he did group rides. And so we started, maybe not immediately. I don't know. Maybe it was a year after. I don't really remember. Maybe I started on the trail probably for a year. And then group rides. And then I just kept doing group rides. And eventually like 3 or 4 years later, I did different group rides. And then I've been doing those group rides ever since.
And how long from when you started did you start like racing?
I think it was like I did the trail probably for a year and then group rides. So I was probably like a year and a half into it.
Oh, so pretty early.
Yeah. Yeah, because he started racing. So I was like, well, I'm going to race. This is great. Let's just start racing.
And were you quickly like realizing that you were maybe better than your boyfriend?
No, I wasn't better at anything.
You weren't?
Oh, no. I've never been better at things than most people. No, I just try.
You might be the most humble person I've ever had on here, by the way.
I just have a lot of persistence. Like it's, it's been 8 years. These people start out and they're like 2 years in and they're like almost as strong as me. I'm like, what are these people doing?
How long did it take you to become like a cat 1 from Cat 5 to Cat 1?
Oh gosh, I don't know. We'll just say 7 years. Honestly, because I started racing, right? Like if I've been riding for 8, we'll call it 6 just to make it sound better. But so let's just say 6 years. I stayed in categories. You had COVID year where I didn't race, right? But I stayed in the middle category. So I started as they didn't have a 5 back then for women.
Oh, they didn't?
The women 5 is brand new. So I started as a 4. I was there for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And then I was a 3 for like a solid 3, but there was a COVID year in there. So we'll say 2. And then I was a 2 for barely a year. I got from a 3 to a 2 and people pushed me up. They didn't appreciate that. So then, and then I got pushed from a 2 to a 1 in like less than a year. I also wasn't happy about that, but.
So talk to me about that. Cause I remember talking a little bit about this at one of like our rest stops, and I was kind of curious.
Yeah, I
and
remember that.
There was this like scientist guy that was trying to like.
That's not how it works. Calm down, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You were like, hey,
what is this? I just need the basics. Like, is it possible or not? That's all I need to know. I'm just deciding.
So you guys mentioned something that you said, well, some people some people don't want to be like a cat up the next one. They just want to stay there, but then you get pushed. What does that mean?
Yeah, because that's where I was. Well, you're racing, and like, so for me, I was in a certain category and I was doing good locally, but like if I traveled anywhere, I was like, I would be top 10. Like I could never podium out of town. So I was like, well, I really should podium before I move up. But it's based on points. So if you have enough points, you could sometimes get pushed up. And you get pushed up, even though all your points are from local races, right? So it's like going to a marathon and you're doing good locally and you're like, okay, I want to see how good I do at Boston. And then you suck at Boston because locally, sure, you're great, but in Boston, you're like nobody.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing, like locally, yeah, you're beating everyone. There's 10 people.
Yeah.
But when you go and there's 50 in your top 10, you're like, I don't feel like I should really go to the next category. But points are points for how they do it.
So if it was up to you, like, would you be a Cat 1 right now?
Oh no, I would probably still be a 3, maybe a 2, but I would definitely be a 2. Because I just didn't do that. Like I could never podium at a big race. And I may never, because I'm not in the top tier. It's just the way it is. Like some people are like, yeah, you're really good. Yeah, okay, maybe in Tulsa, but like, it's just not. I've never been really great. If you look at the whole grouping of cycling. So,
but there's people out there that are working towards that and can't get there.
Right. Yeah. And that's just all it is, right? You just keep on chugging away, and one day, just like everything else, one day it just magically happens and you're like, "Me, I'm okay today."
So, one of the things that I've always believed in, and it's always come true, and is that you are who you're surrounding yourself with, right?
Yeah.
And I remember whenever I was in high school, I grew up in Sand Springs, which is like, a town about 20, 30 minutes away from Tulsa. And I did sports in high school, and I would go work out at an Anytime Fitness there.
Oh yeah.
And then so like, but I was like, I feel like I'm not getting as strong.
Yeah.
And then so I got a membership at what used to be Gold's Gym.
Yeah.
And I would drive, me and Jordan on my team. I've known him since high school.
Okay, yeah.
And then him and I used to drive to just surround ourselves with stronger people.
Yes.
And then literally within like a 3 to 4 months worth of time, we were lifting more, we were getting stronger, and all we could account that success to was that we were around a lot stronger people than we had seen back at like our normal gym.
Yeah.
So would you say that you, even though you don't, like, what I'm kind of getting is like, you don't feel like you deserve to be a Cat 1,
right?
Even though you are, because like
right.
I don't know if the word legally, but like on
paper.
Legitimate, you are.
Yeah, right.
But do you not feel that like even in local races, now that you're racing Cat 1, that's just making you better than if you were still like a Cat 3?
Maybe knowing I have to like race against the top tier, you want to be better. So then I think that's a lot of it. You have to race against the top tier. And so now you're going to the harder rides and you're like, okay, my only goal is to basically get dropped. Like I need to go so hard that I get dropped today. Like, therefore, at races, I can drop them. And so you just keep pushing because you're like, I'd rather look crazy today than at a race. And so
that's literally your goal?
Sometimes, I mean, not on every ride, but like on some of those summer rides, I'm like, I'm going until I blow. Let's go. Yeah. That
is one of the things that I still am trying to get used to in the rides, because you can feel really good. And then something happens.
It does.
And then boom, people just leave you.
They do. Well, and some of the rides, like I would make some of the Saturday rides, like, because it's one of those things that you're like, I'm going to go so hard, but not so hard that I fall off. And so I'm like, well, I can't be like that. Like, how do you move that bar? And I'm like, okay, well, if I fall off here, then I need to go so I fall off, and then maybe the bar's here. And so like a lot of my Saturday rides would be like, if I haven't blown up by the end, like I did not complete my goal. So that'd be my goal some of the Saturdays.
How much of it do you think it's mental?
Oh, I think, what part? Just like pushing yourself?
Yeah, pushing yourself to that, and then also the whole getting dropped thing.
Oh, it's all mental. You have to be, you have to be okay, like basically getting abandoned by the group. So like no one wants to get abandoned by the group, right? That's why people like freak out and have all these group ride rules and whatever. They're like, don't leave me. It's like, it's okay. You can find your way home. But then like you have so much of... Most people will not push so hard. They're like, I can't do it anyway. And so most of the time people get dropped just because they can't put in that extra match that it takes. They won't do it. They give up right then. And so you'll see it like, cause most of the time if you like, if you encourage them, they'll do it. It's like, so you could do it. You just didn't want to.
So what are some of the goals that you have here in the next coming like year or a couple of years or so within cycling? And
I don't know about cycling. I mean, I'd like to get better at the big races. So I'd like to I tried to do like top 20 at the big races this year. It was my first year like in the pro races. So I'd like to try to get into the top 15 consistently on the bigger races, maybe a top 10, but that'll be hard. And then just not get dropped on some of the really hard rides and actually take like legitimate pulls with like really good people, not just like my fake pulls where I just rotate around.
How often do you travel for these races?
Usually I only travel like 3 times a year for the big races, so I may try to do like 4 or 5 to the
your
ones.
Instagram makes it seem like you're at a race like every weekend.
Well, but the local ones, right, are a lot of them. So there's a lot of local races in the summer, and then the bigger ones I probably go to like 3 or 4. So.
And you find all kinds of races. Like you just did. I remember the last group ride. I think it was the last group ride I did with you guys. You were doing what was that one? Cyclocross.
Yeah, I do that.
What is?
It's like riding on. It's like track and field for running, but it's doing it on a bike. So track and field is kind of like through the woods or on grass. It's basically doing track and field, but on a bike.
And do you use the same bike that you use, like your road bike?
No, it has like knobby tires on it. So it's almost like a mountain bike, but, skinnier tires than a mountain bike.
And do a lot of people that road bike, do they do that or?
No, most people don't like it. It's either, I don't know if it's because it's too hard. It's okay. It really doesn't get your adrenaline going. That's my reason. I don't love it because you're not going fast. So like the adrenaline is just not pumping.
Why do you do it? Just because it's competition or?
Well, I feel like, no. I feel bad for the sport because nobody likes it, so I also do it because of that. But also I'm like, well, it makes me love everything else because I kind of hate it. So it kind of sets the bar of what I hate, like down here, so that when I have to like road 350 miles, I'm like, well, it's better than cyclocross. It's like running. It's like, well, if my day starts with running, nothing is worse than running.
That's literally what I tell myself all the time. Like, if you start the day with something really hard,
yes,
nothing else in the day can be harder. You're like, oh well,
at least I ran.
Talking about that. So my wife got me a cold plunge for Christmas. I've been talking about it forever. I almost pulled the trigger and bought one in 2022, last year. But I didn't pull the trigger, and then she ended up getting me one, and then I have never been more like nervous about doing something.
There's only one thing worse than running in the morning, and it's trying to be cold.
Well, I did it for the first time yesterday. I could not do it in the morning. I went and worked out. I went to CrossFit in the middle of the day, and then afterwards, I went and did it, and it was just painful. I was shivering for the next hour.
Yeah.
I did feel pretty good after that, but this morning I was like, well, maybe I can just go and get it out of the way this morning.
Did you?
No. I wouldn't be able to talk to you right now.
You should. We'll look for it on the marketplace in a year.
No, I'm going to stick to it. That's the whole thing.
We need a measure on your body fat. We need to really know if it decreases your body fat. We know that that's the selling point and the recovery, but I don't believe it. I feel like it's a keto trend. So you need to keep us updated on if it actually helps your recovery.
Well,
or your
here's the thing. The biggest thing that I'm doing it for is the dopamine, like the whole, like how you feel for the rest of the day. And
helping you? Did it make you feel better? Because I feel like it makes you dread the rest of the day. You're like, God, only 24 hours, so I'll have to cold plunge again. I feel like the counteracting of how bad it is counteracts for whatever dopamine.
So the dopamine, but here's the thing is that I think it's making my mind stronger.
Whatever. I'm gonna go with the red light therapy instead.
That's supposed to be really good for you, but I've never done it. Have you ever done it?
I've done it a couple of times. My physical therapist has it, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try it.
Do you ever? Did you notice a difference?
I don't know. I don't know what I notice a difference. I drink so much caffeine. I don't know. Every day is kind of.
I'm big into placebo effects too, though.
It works though. That's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter if it's the thing or you think it's the thing. The same chemicals are getting created, right? So, but if you didn't have that stimulus, you wouldn't create those chemicals. So, it still serves a purpose.
One thing that I've tried that I don't like is I think it's just called floating. Have you ever done that? Like, it's like a little pod that you get in and then you just literally float.
No, that feels like it would waste a lot of my time.
Yeah, I don't. But
a lot of time I could be riding and running.
I think that part of the reason why I work out so much is to do those recovery things.
Really?
I like to.
You do?
I love
There's
doing them.
no way.
I have a bunch of them in my house that I just bought.
Like what?
I have like the leg things, the compression legs.
Oh God, those are my worst nightmare. I'm like, this is so boring.
Well, I mean, I bought them because I just put them on while I'm watching TV.
I know.
And then I have like gun, I have the cupping, I have
like all that stuff?
I love all that stuff.
You feel like it helps you at all?
I think so.
You do?
Yeah. My wife thinks it's all a gimmick, but
yeah, exactly.
I'm like, hey, if I think it's helping
it's all circulation though too, right? Like the circulation helps. So it's all moving your circulation and the toxins and the blood flow. The more blood flow you have to a muscle, right, the better it recovers. So
what do you do for recovery stuff since you're pumping out so many miles and all kinds of stuff?
I strength train, and then I just make sure that I have like
your recovery is strength training?
You'd be shocked how much you need to recover and just train the right muscles. Like, you'd be shocked that like the reason you're sore half the time is just because it's weak muscles. So yeah, I just train the muscles that are weak, and then I don't really do a whole lot for recovery. I mean, I eat good, I drink water, and then I sleep, I guess. And then I'll roll my legs every once in a while, or I'll go to a physical therapist. But I don't.
How many hours of sleep are you getting at night?
Usually 8.
8, okay.
Yeah, typically.
And how many days a week are you taking off?
Right now I don't have any like full days off, but I like do them in halves. So like Tuesday evening I don't ride, and then like Saturday, usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday I don't run. And then I only lift 3 days a week. So like I take different parts of the day off versus like full days off.
Parts of like your type of training, you mean? Like so
it's all staggered.
That's okay. That's
so that I don't feel overwhelmed. So I only have like a couple days that it's all 3 activities.
I'm glad that I'm not the only one, because people make me feel the worst for not taking days off. But
it's really not necessary unless you're mental. Like, some people mentally need like, oh, I don't want to exercise. But to me, I feel like it kills my momentum. Like, I like to have a routine, so it kills the momentum if I have nothing that day. It's like, well, I already have this part of my day sectioned out, so.
And then you said that you eat pretty good. How do you? Because I feel like that's one of the things that I feel like I also work out just to eat whatever I want.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been eating the same for like 10 years though. Like, I eat fairly the same every day.
What does that look like?
Well, in the morning I now just have like a protein shake. I used to eat fish and vegetables. I'm sure many people appreciated that.
In the morning?
Yeah, well, I hate breakfast food. So I just do a protein shake now because I run so late from everything. But I basically do some sort of protein. I used to do protein and vegetables, but now it's a protein shake. And then usually I eat like an apple or oatmeal somewhere midday. And then for lunch, I just eat chicken and vegetables, basically chicken and salad, with a little bit of cheese. And then I have another apple, and then I have something for dinner, for like, I don't know, protein and vegetables or carbs or
Do
cheese.
you enjoy it, or do you?
I love it.
You do. So you're not just doing it for like to. You do love it.
Yeah, I love it. But I love how I feel. Like, I feel really good. If I don't eat that, I do not feel good. Like, I don't have energy and I don't feel good. I know exactly what makes me feel good. And so I only eat that. Like, I can tell when I haven't eaten that, I feel completely different.
Yeah. We're the opposite on that. I eat like something that tastes good. And then I feel good. And I'm just like, I want to keep eating,
Really?
even though I know I'm going to feel horrible.
Yeah, no, I don't. I know how bad I feel, and it's like, I can't do it. Like, I'd literally rather not eat.
One of the things that I started doing, and I've been doing it almost for 1,000 days, however many.
1,000 days?
Yeah, almost. I tracked a lot of things. So
on an Excel spreadsheet?
No, like I have an app for this, and then I have an app for like a bunch of other things. I just started tracking the cold plunge, everything.
What app is it?
One of the fasting app is called Fastic.
Oh, okay.
And then it's
for different items.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then one is called Streaks.
Okay.
And you can add your own goals on there, whatever you want on there.
And then you check off the days.
Yeah, and then you and it's pretty satisfying, and then it also shows you like what your longest streak has been of doing that goal as well too. So
all the dopamine.
Yeah.
All the streaks.
I love it. So
what are you tracking?
So I literally track everything. I track my sleep. I track my how many times I'm going to the gym. I track. I don't have my phone, or else I would.
What's
go
the
through
1,000-day thing? Sorry.
It's the fasting. I've been doing fasting for almost 1,000 days, and so that's the only like quote unquote discipline or nutrition that has helped me. And it's literally I don't eat anything for at least 16 hours. And then what that has done, it has shrunk my stomach to where like I get full really easy. Like my wife, she weighs probably like 110 pounds, and she eats more than me every time we eat.
Right. Yeah.
And so that kind of has helped me, and it has helped me be a little bit more conscious of what I'm eating.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, do I really want to break my fast with a bag of hot Cheetos?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, that's probably not good.
Right. Yeah. And everyone's so different with food. So that's the thing. Some people just like, they can eat so much food and they love food. And I don't love food. Like, I don't love food that much.
Strange.
Like, if it tastes too good, like, I don't want to eat it. Like, I'll of course eat it, but it's not like some of my goals. And I said this for this holiday when I was making some cookies. I'm like, well, I don't want them to taste so good that I want 5. I want them to be like, okay, where I'd only want 2.
You have, man, people talk about me having discipline, and I'm like, you got me on that. I don't know if I have discipline, a lot of discipline in food.
The food, yeah. Everyone's
besides
the
fasting thing, because like I won't even chew gum. Like
you won't.
I won't, because I'll break my fast. So anyways, but so you're writing a lot during the week. You're doing all their type of fitness stuff. So you're spending a lot of time doing that.
Yeah.
So what made you also get into like real estate stuff?
I don't know. I've just always wanted to get some rentals. I thought it was cool. My dad had like an apartment complex when he was younger. So I don't know. I just always, everyone just says real estate's the thing. I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. Just one house at a time. We'll see if it's great or if it sucks. I don't know.
And how long have you been doing that for?
I guess this is the 3rd year. So,
third year?
Yeah, 3rd year. I think 3rd house. So
Man, you got in at a good time.
Yeah, right as the prices like started going up. But
that is the one thing that COVID really helped us with.
Yes. Yeah, the houses.
So how do you have the time to do that and your full-time job?
Oh, well, sometimes I'm tired, but sometimes I'm not. I don't know. I just love it. I have a boyfriend, he helps remodel them, so that really helps. So I help, but obviously he does the majority of the work. So
do you enjoy it? You do enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like the biggest fan of, painting and all the actual remodel stuff, but I like the end goal of making extra money and then like, having another place for investing so that when I hopefully retire before 50, I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. This was all worth it.
And then talk to me a little bit about your day job.
I'm just like, I set up payroll systems. So for cities and government. So I'm doing like the back end system setup. So different, basically like a big ERP system. So they basically tell you like, hey, this is how our city functions. And then I set up the system for them and configure all the rules and everything in the background.
And is that something that you enjoy as well?
I like it. Yeah, it's a consult job, so I mean, it's kind of like teaching, kind of training. So it's just the right amount of I like teaching, whether I'm good at it or not is a separate subject, but
that's good. I'm always curious too, because I think that there's a lot of people out there that are doing what they love. They make time for what they love, but then like what they have to do in order to, make a living, they just hate it.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously better jobs, but I mean, every day for the most part, I still enjoy like the daily tasks of it, because you get to talk to people and you're kind of problem solving, and I like problem solving. So it's fun. It's all kind of the same theme.
And so is one of the things in cycling, going back to like Cat 1 and your goals and everything, is that I know that when I talked to Elias, he said that he really wants to like, I guess the only next step to truly become a professional is to join a team or something like that.
Basically, yeah.
So is that anywhere in the cards for you, or?
Yeah, I don't know how I would balance that and then like doing real estate and then doing all
so
the
that
things
would
I
take
do at
even
home.
more time.
Yeah, because they like you to travel to these big races, which I'm not totally against. But like my other thing about cycling is I'm not like, I am really serious about it. Like I'm really committed, but I'm also not that serious. Like if it's not fun, I really don't want to do it. So to joining like a professional team, I'm like, I feel so serious. Like, but I'm sure it's not that bad. They're only going to mainly the races I would be going to anyway, but
it's not something that's kind of,
I don't know. I mean, I think I would be ready for it eventually, but I also don't feel like I'm good enough for like a professional team yet. But I mean, I'd want to be good enough where I would be good enough for a professional team. So I don't know. It's kind of, I mean, maybe in a couple of years.
It's so mind blowing to me that you don't think that you're good enough.
Yeah. Well, I feel like those professional teams are good, but then, you go to these races and then you're beating some of them and you're like, well, maybe I am good enough. I don't know.
I think you are good enough.
I don't know. But I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like being a Cat 1. Like I don't want to be that until I can be like a really good one. It's like you don't want to move up to the next level until you can just like really rock the next level. So
You're not a big believer. You're not a big believer in the fake it till you make it.
Not for cycling. I am in work life. Fake it till you make it. Give me a title that's not me, and I'll be that eventually. Yeah.
See, I think that's something that I'm always like, hey, just kind of push through it, and then until you kind of make it. Just in about a lot of stuff that I do, I'm like, you'll adapt. That's one of the biggest like qualities that I think that people can use to succeed, and that's adapting.
I agree. Adaptability is one of the biggest.
Right? one of the biggest things that people tell me all the time in anything that I've done, they're like, you're using too much energy or too much muscle. Like if you did it this way, you would be so much better at it.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay. And then I do it for a certain time until I learn that. And then I'm just, that much better. So I don't know. We'll see. But what are some of the things that you think that people think about cycling, but they don't really know it? I feel like a lot of people actually hate cyclists because like they're always on the road.
Those are so annoying though. Have you ever driven behind a cyclist? It's the worst. It is the worst. They feel like a pack of cockroaches. Like they might scatter, they might not. It just depends. Like you have no idea. They're like, I can't believe this car isn't going around me. It's like, have you seen like there's a hole and they're like, You're like, I wouldn't go around him. I'm like gonna kill someone.
Oh gosh, I'm so glad that you're saying this.
Right? You feel that way. You're like,
yeah. But what are some things that you think that people are like, they just have no idea that like one of the things is I don't think that people realize how like when they see like a pack of people going, they don't realize how hard that is.
They don't realize how hard it is. They don't realize how hard it is. They don't realize probably the conditions that it takes and just how worn out you get and like how hard it is to actually find miles and go places. So, I mean, that would be like a cyclist to a motorist item. But I think as like an athlete in cycling, you don't realize how much of a like, for the most part, if you do group rides, how much of a pack sport it is. So like if you don't have buddies or you haven't realized that it's kind of like a buddy system, then like you might be left out to dry because like it's the group that you've created and who likes you that really bonds you together. And it's just like work, right? Like if you don't have some colleagues or some people on your side, then work is not going to be very fun either.
Yeah.
So it's the same way. Some people just go to the rides and, you know, are independent people. And I'm like, oh, you're going to get left behind one day.
One of
you
the
have
things,
a flat, no one's waiting for you.
One of the things that I feel like a lot of people don't know is that it might be the only sport that in order to recover in the middle of the ride, you just have to drink a Coke.
Right. Yes.
That threw me off because I'm not a pop drinker.
Right.
But during this ride, I'm like, dude, I will eat a bug if it'll.
Right. It's like the sugar IV. It's like now's not the time to be eating bananas and, you know, your keto snacks. Like you might want to leave your keto snacks at home and my other favorite is the baby food puree. I'm like, listen, I know you probably do this too, the Mexican Cokes. I'm like, it's all the same sugar.
Oh,
just
yes.
drink the sugar. It doesn't matter.
I don't
taste
taste the difference.
There isn't. They're all sugar. They all digest the same. I'm just like, oh. Boy.
I was riding next to Elias's girlfriend, Amanda, and I go, oh, like, I was like eating one of my little goo things, and I was just like, oh, I was like, this tastes like medicine. Like, I hate eating this. And I was like, what do you guys get? And she's like, oh, we just get candy from Whole Foods.
No. Yeah, they have these like peach rings. And
Those are my favorite. I'm like, I didn't know.
They all digest the same. That's the thing. It's like whatever you want. It's all sugar. It's all the calories.
I need to change that on there.
Yeah.
So one of the last things that I like to ask is, out of, you know, throughout your entire life, for everything that you're doing right now, what is one piece of advice that you think that you have received that has helped you kind of get to where you are, but also kind of keep going, which is kind of going to be interesting because I feel that a lot of the things that have accomplished, maybe you don't feel like
I don't feel like I've accomplished, right? Exactly.
And I'm like, what?
I don't know.
You're like me at a different level because like I'm always about reaching the goal.
Yeah.
And then I'm never satisfied. I'm just like, oh, I could have done better.
I think it's great. Like I reached the goal and I'm like, wow, this is so great. Like I'm so proud of myself. But like me being proud of myself and me feeling like it's great in the world are two separate things, right? Like I'm super proud of all the goals I've accomplished, but what, you know, where it is in respects of what other people accomplish, I'm like, oh, it really isn't that big a deal. Cause it isn't. Like people can accomplish up here and I'm right here, which doesn't undermine what I'm doing. I just know that in the realm of things, like I have a realistic view and go, well, I mean, there's plenty of people really outdoing me. Like, and it's fine. I'm not like jealous of where they am. Like, I don't want to be there.
You're just like a realist.
Yeah. It's just what the way it is. It's not a big deal, but I don't know. I don't really know much advice other than the advice I give myself, which is, I don't know, just keep going and you'll figure it out when you get there. Just keep going. You'll be fine. Everything is fine. Just keep going. I don't really know. I don't really function on advice necessarily. I'm just all about the perseverance. Just keep going. You'll be fine. Just do things that are good.
We've had a couple of different versions of that, like keep going, like don't quit. And that's it seems so cliche, but a cliche is just something that people call it cliche because they don't really do it. Like people are so easy to quit and just say like I don't think that I'm.
People hate to be uncomfortable, and that's the biggest thing, right? People cannot stand, and whatever it is, right? I mean, we all have our own deal. It's like the cold plunge, right? Like, I don't want to be uncomfortable in that way, but either way, like, most people can't be uncomfortable in multiple ways, right? They can't be uncomfortable being on a budget so that they can invest. They can't be uncomfortable talking to someone on a group ride so they'll never have a buddy if they have a flat tire. Like, they won't be uncomfortable because it feels so, like, icky for that moment, and they can't just sit in it and be like, oh, they don't know I feel uncomfortable. I know I feel uncomfortable, but they don't know I feel uncomfortable, and they can't just sit in it. The anxiety just like kills them.
Yeah, but I feel that you have to be uncomfortable in order to be able to reach some type of growth.
Mm-hmm. I feel like discomfort is like the border of like the next level. Like when you step up to the next level, like the difference between this step and this step is discomfort. Like in between each, you know, like the stair treads, like you have discomfort in between those.
I think that is why I'm the cold plunge to me really is like very intriguing, is because it's super uncomfortable, super painful.
Right.
But I think that's why it's helping my mind, at least out of all the quote unquote benefits that are out there, I personally think that if I stick with it, it's going to help my mind get stronger, and that's going to help me across the board in anything that I'm doing. So Ariel, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate you making the time.
Thanks for having me.
And where can people find you? Like your handle on Instagram and stuff?
I think it's Ariel Wyant 21, but
if you guys want to see,
not certain.
if you guys want to see a bunch of cycling stuff, and if you guys maybe want a cycling buddy, there you have it. So thank you so much, Ariel.
You're welcome. Thanks
Happy
so much.
New Year.
Okay, Happy New Year.